Awesome. Hey, everybody. Welcome to week 5 of Savage Lands in Early Access. I am your incredibly sick community manager, Kittychix. That's me. And to my right through the interwebs, we have with us game director Chris Rubio Euryidium and a special guest with us this week, and that is John Paquin. I think I said his last name right.
Yes, coder extraordinaire. He's going to be here answering questions. So if you guys have a lot of, anything about AI, graphics, John pretty much does it all. So he can answer almost, I would say he could probably answer everything. I don't think there's any question you guys can throw at him that's too difficult. So, yeah, guys, how you doing? I'm Chris.
Don't set him up to fail.
This is going to go great. Hi, guys. I'm going to give the headset to John in just a few minutes. Before we jump into the whole interview with John, I'm also going to be running the game behind the scenes, so I'm going to set up a game. It's going to be Euryidium's Island of Pain, so feel free to join in. Today I have a lot of goodies that I'll be giving away. I have bows, I have wolf fur armor, I have bags, and all sorts of cool stuff. So please, if you get the opportunity, jump into my game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we jump into the interview, though, I wanted to talk a little bit about the update that was released today. As you can see, we've been really good about posting up our planned updates, what's coming, and this week we released a bunch of cool stuff. We got PvP in the game. We got more PvP improvements coming down the pipe. We're going to post up more notes tomorrow. We've been tweaking a lot of bugs. We've fixed things with the Pine strong boxes. We've increased the slots. You guys will see that I made some tweaks to coal. You now get coal in stacks of 3. I'm going to be improving that a little bit more with our mining system, hopefully this week. If not, it'll be in the next update. But in general, a lot of cool stuff. You'll see that in this new release, there are new buildable objects: the Banner of Conquest, wooden crucifix, wooden cage, and wooden rack. Right now, these are props that you can place to make your little area, to make your community and your area look a bit more robust. Other cool things that we've been adding, I've added more camps into the world. You'll find that the start areas, the 4 start areas that we have that have been redesigned. I've actually brought them in closer so that when you start out, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump if your buddy spawns in another location. You'll also find in between those different spawn areas small little rudimentary camps that have been set up, so you'll find lots of cool stuff. One of the things I mentioned in our last stream, that as you're venturing out on the beach, out of this start area location, you'll see on the west end of the island, or in the west area, 3 giant pillars. That'll denote that you're leaving, the start area. And then on the kind of southern eastern side, you'll see these 2 giant pillars, one kind of falling into the other. Again, that's another way to let you know that you're going to be leaving these start locations, and pretty much that Argo start area quadrant, and you're going to be going into rougher terrain and more difficult areas. So a lot of, hopefully you guys like what we did. New players, hopefully you guys will dig it. And we're still making improvements. We got some cool stuff planned with corpse retrieval in the works. More stuff that hopefully I'll be able to post up tomorrow.
Yay, previews.
Made changes to the Wolfsbane weapon. Also, you guys will notice that changed the name of the Blackened Steel Sword to Blackened Ebon Steel Sword. You'll also, not in this update, but I did, thanks to you guys in the forums, I did fix some bugs with the names. So Savage Ebon Steel Cleaver will now have the correct name in the next update. So yeah, lots of cool stuff in progress. We thank you guys for playing and finding some of these bugs for us. It's very important. It helps us out dramatically. And yeah, we've greatly appreciated all the support thus far, and hopefully you guys are liking the patch. And we got another game update in the works that'll be ready for next Thursday. So with that, why don't I give the headset over to John, and Chloe you guys can start asking John questions. Sound cool? And I'm gonna load up my game here while you guys are talking away.
So while they do headset switchage and whatnot on there, and for those of you who have actually seen John posting in the forums, you most often see him posting in our bug report section. in the internal early access section. He posts under the handle JPPG1, which is why we've got that tag up in our stream description. It's gonna be a challenge today. This is gonna be awesome. I'm so sorry, guys.
Chloe, you're not supposed to drink all the cough syrup. Just they have a little cup.
You know what? I don't even have any in my apartment, which might actually have made this slightly better. If you guys are just joining us, what you're watching Chris do in the background, excuse me, he is actually going to be playing. He's going to be going after the wonderful forest giants today. So hit his game, Rubiors.
I'm sorry. I'll stop. I'll stop
you can laugh. I would be laughing if I had the mental acuity to laugh and host the stream at the same time, which I just don't. Rubiors. No, not Rubiors. Euryidium. Oh my God. Why do we have multiple names? Why do we use multiple names? Euryidium's server of pain, and it'll be signal 1 is the password, which you can just see him typing in right now. All right. So John. This is really all about you today, which is awesome, because nice. I get to know a little bit more about you, as does all our community, which is really cool.
Well, so, I'm 5'6". My favorite color is magenta.
Magenta? Now, do you prefer slightly purple? No, okay, we're not going that far. I am curious, though, would you give us a little bit of your history in the industry? What got you into gaming? How long have you been doing this? All that kind of fun stuff. I know, the hard-hitting questions.
Well, like, I worked at Amazon for a little while, and I heard a guy say this there that I thought was really true. He said, we all got into this for the same reason, to avoid other people. And that's pretty much my situation. When I was in 6th or 7th grade, this was right at the computers were just coming out at that time. And I was fascinated with them, and I've been driven to do programming from ever since then. When other kids were pushing lawnmowers and delivering newspapers, I was, working at a database place doing back-end coding. It's just always been something I've been interested in. So when I graduated college in '91, I went to, at the time there used to be stores where there were big PC game boxes on the shelves, and I went in and just turned the boxes around and wrote all the addresses down of all the companies, and then sent them all letters. And most of them, either I didn't hear back or I got blown off, but one company, Microprose, they were just working on Civilization at the time. Gave me a call back. So I went down there and I started working on flight sims, and since then I've gotten to work with a bunch of extremely talented people. I've learned an awful lot, and it's been, almost 25 years now. I've been doing games.
That's incredible. So, for anyone who is under the age of probably 20,
yeah,
which I can actually say I'm not. Game boxes, PC games, and even the early video games used to come in boxes that rivaled, or that were about the size of like the limited edition World of Warcraft boxes. These things were like this thick and were the size of an actual book. Mm-hmm. And so when you had them on your shelf, they all looked like they were these great big huge epic boxes.
Yeah,
it
was ridiculous.
They didn't hold up very well.
We had the war of the manuals. I did a lot of simulation games, and we had the war of the manuals where you were trying to put an entire like F-15 flight manual into the game box.
And isn't it impressive that at this point in this day and age, that's what's included in a limited edition, is you'll have these massive manuals or art books, or it's not just the discs anymore, because most of us, I think at this point, would probably actually prefer to get all of our stuff digitally. But what drives us to go and buy the physical copies are those manuals. I mean, I remember when a game manual, you know, was actual lore and content and not just a page, if you're lucky at this point, a page of, you know, installation instructions.
Well,
most of them.
Back then, you would, I mean, when I started playing games, they used to, oh man. When I started playing games, they came on cassette tape. And you'd have this little Radio Shack tape player. It was as small as they could make it, and it was like the size of like 2 big paperback books. And you'd stick this cassette tape in, and then you'd tell the computer to start listening to the cassette tape. And it would take, you know, 15 minutes for it to play through the whole thing. So during that time, when you're getting all ramped up for your game that, you know, it's an adventure game where you have like 8 pixels on the screen, right? When you're getting all ramped up, you have like this 15 minutes where you got nothing to do. So having that manual there, so you could leaf through it and look up all the arcane stuff. You know, the double rainbow spell will work against the, you know, all this crap.
Stuff that we now rely on. You know, it's not even that it's like the size of a USB stick. It's now digital. You know, and obviously it's various sizes of digital space, but, you know, you've got that, then you've got your wikis that, you know, players are putting together, which, by the way, guys, thank you so much for working on ours. We've got a few changes coming with that in the next little bit, but it's like, you put all this time and energy into it, and it's crazy. It's incredible.
The biggest change, you know, the 2 biggest changes that have happened in the industry in the time that I've been in it, is the first part has been the astonishing rise in the ability of the computer to do stuff. It's gone from really not being able to do anything to being able to do unbelievable things here. The texture that's on the, I guess it's an axe in Chris's hand here, the texture on that axe is bigger than in memory size than the entire game program that I'm talking about that would load from the cassette in 15 minutes. So the computer getting stronger has given us a lot of opportunity to do crazy things.
And it's only getting better, right?
Yes. Well, we're not accelerating at the same rate that we used to be. We're running into problems with there's only so much. There's only so small you can make the transistors because when they do work, they use electricity and it generates a little bit of heat. And the smaller you make the transistor, it means the more heat you're putting into a smaller area. So they call that heat density. And we're starting to approach the limits of the heat density of the processors. So we're using more processors now instead of faster ones. But it's not everything gets better when you add more processors. Sometimes things get a lot better, but sometimes it doesn't change that much. But our biggest things now are the bottleneck between the memory that the CPU has access to and the memory that the graphics card has access to. It's very time-consuming to move things onto the graphics card and off of it again. And this is the major limiting factor in the modern consoles. But you know, as things get as we move along, these things get ironed out, and we get, you know, smoother gameplay. So things are getting better. But the second big change that I wanted to mention was just happened in the last few years, and that has been the involvement of the customer in the development of the game. It really, I think it really started with Minecraft. And now there's this great opportunity for the developers to work with the customers and make things that the customers want.
We do.
Yeah. And when you have a great audience like we have, and you guys tell us, you know, how you feel about things and what you want to see and what you don't like, it really makes it fun for us to create the stuff you want. We're like I mean, I look like Santa Claus, but we're like the elves in Santa's workshop, right? We get to make the toys that you guys play with. And to have you there with us to say, you know, it would be better if you know, the toy worked this way it's exceptional for us because it really gives us a chance to make you guys happy.
Well, and there's something that all developers, I mean, it's not just related to games. Microsoft is tagged with this all the time, where you get these blinders put on through, you know, you got to focus on getting, you know, whatever feature or product shipped, and you get product blind, where you can only think of, not intentionally, but you only think of things one way because at some point in your design decision you had to make a decision, and you're like, well, it's not working, but we've got to make it work. And having that feedback from players and from everybody in the community means that we can take that step back and go, have we actually designed this in the way that it makes the most sense? And I mean, I think that's something that it's not unique to us, but I think it's something that we definitely are paying a lot of attention to, and we definitely appreciate you guys giving us your feedback, and all of that, because without it we get those blinders on, and maybe we don't come up with the right thing or the best thing. And it's really that, you know, iteration process of, well, let's try this, no, let's try that. And if we have those options presented to us, sometimes we can make some of those earlier decisions better or more effectively.
That's a great point, Chloe. You know, I can't be too hard on big companies like EA and Microsoft for this situation, because in a big company, and to some extent smaller companies too, there's a line in the company, and everybody above the line is interested in what gets printed on the outside of the box that you're selling. What, you know, does it say that the game does something new? Does it say that the game does the things that the people want it to do? That's what the people above that line are concerned with. And
Absolutely.
The people below the line are concerned with what's actually in the box. You know, when you play it, does it do those things well? Does it do them fast? You know, sure, it says we have 12 million kilometers of land to explore, but is that all just, you know, a flat plain? The people who work below the line are very concerned with the quality of the stuff that they're making. People above the line are concerned with selling the box. They don't necessarily care too much about what's in it, as long as legally it matches what's on the outside.
Right.
And there's the sad truth about a capitalist economy like ours is that the people above the line are always going to be more important than the people below the line. And so at a large company where there's lots of vertical room, those people above the line can put a lot of pressure on the people below the line to get something in the box and ship. And the people below the line don't have a lot of choice in what they can do. You know, when Microsoft says you're going to make a game that works with Kinect, the guys below the line don't have the option of saying, that makes no sense. You know, why do I want my player to stand in the middle of the room and wave his arms around like an idiot? The people above the line say...
It's really great workout for your arms, though. I mean, if nothing else, I appreciate them designing that, because I dance ballet. My legs are super strong. My upper body is totally weak. So, just a complete aside. But I see.
Yeah, and I don't mean to bash Microsoft either. I mean,
I know.
They're doing the best job they can. I'm not, I'm not saying anybody's at fault here. But we have a unique situation at DigitialDNA, and working with Signal has been really good for both of us, I think. And the situation that we're in is that we have a small group of pretty talented people with a lot of experience. And what we can do is we don't have to spend a lot of money making the game in order to support ourselves. So it isn't such a risk for us to make something and then modify it as we go. Whereas for a big company, you have to make a lot of money, which means you have to spend a lot of money, which means you have to have a lot of planning and a lot of foresight. And it's just, we're in a different situation. We can be more agile, our games can be more focused, and we don't have to worry so much.
Primarily why we actually can take the community feedback as well as we can. Because we can pivot, we iterated something and it's not quite working. Well, how do we make it better? I mean, a great example is the ore. Originally it was you mine a rock for a piece of ore and there are 3 different qualities of ore. Well, that's really time intensive. The drop rates are all over the board. Are we correctly balanced? Well, wait, doesn't it make more sense to use something that we already have in the game? Ooh, the tree just got set on fire. Do we use something that's already in the game? Do we use the forge, which allows you to then smelt the ore into a variety of different qualities? I mean, we wouldn't have necessarily arrived at that decision, a patch or 2 after we had implemented the item initially, if we weren't paying as close attention to the feedback that we're getting from the community as we are. So I think, just as an example, a direct example that I think everybody can understand. From that, let's actually, if you don't mind, pivot into questions. So actually, it kind of, I know, don't you love how I segue stuff? Let us get a little bit into what you do specifically for Savage Lands so that everybody who's watching kind of understands. If they want to ask me questions in the chat, what kinds of questions they can be asking you specifically.
Sure. I do, because we're such a small team, we all pretty much do everything.
Everything.
Yeah. So in most teams, you have at least 3 people. You have one person who can do a lot of stuff correctly and very quickly. You have one person who has a lot of experience and knows how to do the really hard things. And then you have somebody who can do everything, a bit of everything from end to end. So the way we work is I'm kind of me and Tom kind of share do the really hard stuff. Tom and Jackie kind of share do everything kind of really fast. And we're all kind of experienced enough that we can do everything. So a lot of times what happens is Tom will go in and sketch in a feature, and then I'll come in and make it work over the network and make it bulletproof and that sort of thing. So,
and for future reference, guys, when Chris is talking about this grandiose plan that he has, that he's going to be presenting to code, what John is saying is John's the one who ultimately has to go in and actually make it work. So remember that whenever you're asking Chris for some big, massive change, John's the one at the other end who's making it come to fruition. So keep that in mind.
Right. So
we're humans behind these screens. Oh my God.
So specifically on Savage Lands, I've done the character controller, the thing that makes you move around. I've done all the networking, the stuff that syncs everything up between machines. I've done all the AI. I got the trees to work. Unity makes it hard to make the trees work. But I got all the coding for all the trees. I shouldn't say, I don't do any of the art. Obviously, the art is done by professionals.
Right.
My art is horrible.
I can't draw to make a stick look like a line to make it look like a stick. Didn't get that gene either. my genes are in the talking.
Yeah, so I have my hands are in everything, really. Yeah. But everybody else in the team is the same way.
Right. And that's why when we talk about the team, if there's, again, there's 10, 11 of us, most of us do have on both sides share multiple responsibilities with different projects. It's not just Savage, although the majority of us are probably 95% Savage across the board, but there are outside responsibilities that we have for other projects and other titles. So it's this crazy balancing act, and that's what you get when you're talking an indie studio, indie projects. You know, we have all these balls up in the air, and game development is complex, and sometimes when it breaks and it falls apart, you just got to take a step back and go, yeah, that's a lot of moving parts. It's no wonder we dropped the ball this time around, which fingers crossed, we're not there yet. So.
And when I say we, often, when you see two names in front of a game, usually one of the names is the people that are publishing the game. They're doing the business side of the thing. And the other name is the people who are developing the game. That's not true in this case. In this case, both sides, both companies are doing a big part of both of those.
Which has been something from my side, just a fun note. I mean, that's something that I have to track down constantly when we have articles come out and whatnot. And it's like, no, guys, there's no publisher.
Yeah.
There's two development. People go, what? Anyway. So speaking of how complicated things are, we've been getting a lot of questions. Here's your first one.
Sure.
Yay. Unity 5. You know, we've tossed out some fun facts about how complicated it is to move from Unity 4 or a variation of Unity 4, which we're working with right now, and moving to Unity 5. I know that's still on the list. I don't know where that is, but players are curious, you know, does that get more complicated the more code that is involved, or is it more that Unity 5 needs to get to a place where we can move our code?
Right. We actually have a version of it running on Unity 5 now. There are certain things that don't work quite right.
Is water still fuchsia?
The water sort of works. It's I don't want to get into the actual details of it because it's fantastically esoteric. But there are certain ways that we do particular things that don't work the same way in Unity 5, and there doesn't seem to be a clear way to do it without like seriously hacking stuff. Which is fine. We're okay with seriously hacking stuff to make it work. But right now, we feel that we want Unity 5 to stabilize a little bit more before we put it out to you guys.
Because it's really only been out for, I want to say, a month or 2 months?
Yeah.
Really at this point?
Yeah, and this is our first game. The programmers, DigitialDNA, this is our first game with Unity, and we're learning an awful lot about how to use this tool correctly. And so some of the problems that we see, maybe not a lot, but some of the problems that you guys run into in the game is because, you know, we've coded in a way that Unity doesn't want us to code in. And then we realize that's a problem, we go back and fix it. So we don't want to compound those issues with a brand new product which may have holes in it that we don't know about.
Right. Which they not know about either. I mean, our system is only as good as the tools that we use to make it. And if, yes, shiny new tools, but shiny new tools with a potential weakness.
Yeah. So so we're waiting a little bit for that to come out. It will make some impact on the gameplay. It will probably look a little bit better. It'll probably run a little bit better. The biggest place we think it will impact us is on the development side, because the tool that we use to put the game together, it runs out of memory frequently, and Unity 5 is 64-bit and can use all the memory that the machine has. So that's really why we're excited about it.
Gotcha. Oh, I mean, and that's great. And as we get closer to making that decision to move into Unity 5, that's something that we will talk about, that we'll, be promoting, to be perfectly honest, because it'll be an improvement on the player side. You guys will see a difference and experience a difference. But
we think so. I'm not willing to go too far out on a limb and say that it's going to be much better.
Yeah.
But
there will be a difference. We just don't know what it will be yet. So we'll get there.
We'll be.
So from that, and sort of the idea that, it takes a while, let's talk when you go into to sort of work on a brand new system. And let's say, what's a good new, actually PvP is a great one, because that it is a brand new system to the players. I mean, we've worked on it for quite a while. If you were to say ballpark, how long does it take from inception to when we get it, the first version of it, like we have right now for players? Approximately how much time would you say that something like that gets put in? Because we're looking forward to the fact that, we want to put in a magic system, and, timeline. See, we've got, again, balls in the air with the existing systems and improving the systems. What should players honestly understand about what that process entails for you?
Well, it's a difficult question. It's akin to saying, how long does a woodworking project take? Right?
Right.
I mean, it depends vastly on what it is you're making. In the case of the PvP, we were able to turn that around relatively quickly because when we were building all the other systems for attacking the enemies and for the enemies attacking the player, we built all that with the idea that the players would be able to attack each other. So then when we got to the PvP part, it was really just making sure that they could, just kind of turn it on. Adding something like a magic system is much more time consuming because, first of all, we all have to decide what the magic system is going to do in the game. Like what point does it serve in the game? Like if you had Counter-Strike, for example, and you wanted to add magic to Counter-Strike, a valid question might be, what value is a magic system to the Counter-Strike game?
Right.
So there's some time that goes into thinking about what does it mean to have magic in the game.
The back of my head, I can just hear Valve shrieking.
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
Counter-Strike 3 now with magic.
Yeah. So that's the first part, thinking it out. The second part is getting the framework for the code, the framework code in to support all the things that have to happen. And the largest part of that is, believe it or not, it's usually the UI, the part where you see, where you can select things and click on things. As a game developer, 25 years in the business, I can say that UI is the longest part of any game ever. It takes forever to do, and it's very hard to do right. Jackie, the woman who's doing the programming currently for the UI, she's much more than a UI programmer, is absolutely brilliant, and she makes it look effortless for her to do it, but it certainly isn't.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Yeah. So if a feature has a lot of UI, typically it takes a lot longer. If the feature touches a lot of other systems, it takes a lot longer. So you want to put buildings down, for example. Well, that affects a lot of things like the AI pathfinding. It affects things like drawing the grass. Maybe you don't want the grass to be poking up underneath your building. It affects the terrain. Can you flatten the terrain to put the, so the more stuff that it affects, the longer it takes because you have to work all that out. And then once you get all the code in, then there's all the content that has to go in after that. There's all the the effects that the artists have to make. There's the models and the textures that the artists have to make. Then there's the tuning that people like Chris have to go in and make sure all the point values work correctly, and so that takes a lot of time as well. And then once you've got all that together, it's buggy as hell, right? And then you have to figure out, why this problem is happening or why that problem's happening. So overall,
not that you have any experience trees.
Yeah. We just fought that one down with the help of the guys in the help of you guys in the Steam forums, providing really.
I actually want to come back to that in a little bit, because that's something that has really plagued us for a number of weeks. So we'll come back to that in a second. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, when you guys ask us for timelines, we have internal timelines that we think we can hit. And then, as we get into them, we thought we had fixed, the perfect example is we thought we had fixed that tree bug. And for those of you who aren't quite sure what John and I are alluding to, there has been a recurring nightmare for John, I think, where occasionally, at least more occasionally, or more so occasionally, the more time we've put into this, when you load into a friend's world, a tree that you have taken out in your world doesn't spawn, or it does spawn and you can't hit it because things are just screwy, shall we say. And so John has just
cut down a tree and it falls over, but it also stays up at the same time,
ripping his hair out over this. And actually, if you haven't been following the trees thread, it's quite amusing. Or at least it's amusing to me. It's probably not so amusing on John's end. But you can see how we do this iteration process of, okay, with the help of you guys, we have hundreds, thousands more people who can, point their efforts at this one problem. Well, what happens if you do it this way? What happens if you do this? What happens if you do this? And then as we release code, we come back to the same issues. Are we still seeing this? What's the next step? Okay, well, we've taken that off the block. We know it's not that. Okay, well, let's try this. So are we approaching, do you think, a fix for that? Did it actually go out? And I don't think it went out in this week's patch.
It didn't go out in this one. I just fixed it
okay, so
either last night or the night before.
Preview 6.
Yeah, whenever the beta switches over, the new beta will have it. Yeah, I don't think it'll be out till next week. Whenever the next drop is.
Showing progress. We're showing progress. Yay, progress! Excuse me while I drink tea.
That one's fixed. That one, in particular, was interesting. This was an issue with not quite understanding the way Unity works.
Yeah.
And when you're developing with Unity, you run an editor, which has like a picture of the world in it, a bunch of other things. And you run the game and you can inspect things that are happening and see what happens. And this issue never, ever happened in the editor. In fact, most of the bugs that come in, most of the crashes, never, ever happen in the editor.
Right.
That's why, because if they happened, we would have fixed them before.
You said that in the thread, right? That you were having problems reproing it in the editor.
Right.
It was only happening in the live game.
Right. So, once I got specific steps, I went through and did it in the live game and saw it happen. And it took a lot of time to figure out that Unity behaves differently when it's running outside of the editor than it does when it's running inside of the editor. And things that happen at one time in the editor happen at a different time outside of there. So stuff that was, we call it execution order. So you do one thing and then you do another thing and then you do another thing. And sometimes you depend on the one thing being done before the other thing gets done. Right. And when in the released version of the game, those things switch places, bad things happen. And that was the case with the trees.
All right. So on that note, because we are almost 40 minutes into the stream, which doesn't feel like that. Let us do a quick giveaway. So, guys, this is a game giveaway for a copy of the game. John,
Yes.
why don't you give us the keyword? It can be a phrase. We have them enter it with no spaces. So, what would you like people to enter to possibly grab a copy of the game? I await your magnificence, sir.
Yeah, I like magnificent.
Sick. I plead that.
I like to try to treat things as an educational opportunity whenever I can.
Sure.
So I'd like to have the keyword be something that you have to look up to learn something about.
Okay. Something about the game, something about game development, something.
Yeah, all those things. Okay. The thing I need to do though is to be able to get the answer to you without saying it over the.
Have it typed in.
Yeah. See, there's an issue here. Okay, forget it. I'm just going to use a word.
Okay, that works. Next time we'll do something.
Yeah.
We'll do trivia next time.
Okay, here's the word. Lobster.
Lobster. See, now I've got to ask, why lobster? Is this another thing that you're trying to get into the game? John is the one who is ultimately responsible for the savage sausages thing. So, and not to, it'll totally be on code, because we have the model for the sausages already in the game.
Lobster is a reference to, if you guys go and read the forum about the trees bug.
There we go.
Lobster's a reference to the bug.
I see. All right, so we're gonna let that go in. Guys, make sure that it's all one word. There's no punctuation or anything like that to get in there. I think it all has to be lower caps as well. I'm fairly certain it is picky that way, so make sure that if you have typed it in with some additional caps or anything like that, that you re-enter it as just all lowercase. And we'll go from there. We'll give that a few seconds to allow people. I didn't say lobster sausage. I don't think lobster sausage would taste very good.
Lobster roll.
Lobster roll. Yeah.
Not a sausage, but
it's. I mean, a lobster roll. Okay, it's a personal thing. It's one of those things in Boston that I just don't get. I don't. Anyway, all right. I am going to pick. So we're going to go 2 people for this one, and we'll do another one towards the end of the stream as well. So if you don't get it this time, guys, it's okay. Like I said, it's for copy games. If you win and you already have a copy, share it to a friend. If you stream yourself, you can give it away to your stream, or on your stream, you can give it away on Twitter. This is your code to do with whatever you would like. We just want you to share the awesomeness that is Savage Lands. All right. So, congratulations to Dirty Mud Monkey and a wonderful Tavish's Experience. So congratulations to both of you. If you could, please make sure that you message me here on Twitch after the stream, and I will get you your codes. So thank you very much for that. All right, so let's get back to a couple more questions.
Sure, yeah.
One of the things that has come up all the time from almost right from the beginning is dedicated servers.
Right.
And in fact, when we actually went live on Steam to Early Access, when we did the Great Big Huge stream and you guys were on stream with us that time, we actually talked about bringing you back and sort of talking about why we went with a rather limited server game host at the beginning versus dedicated servers. And can we get into that a little bit and talk about the various, reasons we did the stuff that we did?
Absolutely. We had a long kind of back and forth about the right way to approach the multiplayer in this game. In the past, we've done a lot of what we call peer-to-peer multiplayer, where your own client is responsible for a lot of the things that happen. And in general, what that means is that you don't have to have one monster machine that can run a lot of stuff all at the same time in order to play. It kind of gets spread out over everybody. The disadvantages to that are that everybody's got to have a good network connection, and also that the more stuff that happens on your machine, the easier it is for somebody to change the code and do something funny on their side. So we wanted to strike a compromise between those two extremes, and really the way Savage Lands works is it's almost entirely done on the server. There are very, very few things that are done on the client, and the reason we ended up, the final reason we ended up that way was so that client machines could have fairly low specs and still run the game well, and also so that we had some control over what what was getting executed. So once we made that decision, we had to decide how did we want to be able to have what we call a headless server, a server that isn't playing the game, that doesn't have a display, or not. And figuring out doing the headless server was a no-brainer, but with Unity, it's difficult because Unity isn't really set up to operate that way. Unity really wants to be what you're seeing here. It really wants to be a game that's being played, not a system that's running. So, having said that, there is a specific mode that you can run Unity in where it won't do any of the graphics. We've been sort of hoping that when we get to the point of trying to use that mode, that everything will work right in the simulation, even if the graphics aren't playing. And that's our plan for the headless server. The other option would have been to write all the game code in a separate program and then have that program communicate with Unity. We thought that would be too much work and too complicated a system for us to really produce reliable results with. So getting the dedicated server working is going to be a matter of fighting with Unity to make sure that when we're not running graphics that it runs correctly and that you can still interact with it, like say through a window or something, from the outside.
And it's not, because I'm just keeping an eye on chat. It's not that we are unaware that other games have done this successfully. It's not nobody has done it. It's that currently, in terms of where we are in our development from the overall game, we're not sure if what we've done will actually work the same way. It's on the list of things, but I mean, I asked, I guess it's just over a little month. Let's try to reorder those words. I asked John when we were on that streaming extravaganza just a little over a month ago. There we go. Where we thought dedicated servers were, and I believe your words in some version was it's not line item 3, but it's also not line item 85. So it's on the list, but with a small team, when we look at, well, do we have a major part of the game that we've been talking about since launch, or since announcement, which is 2 months ago, which is PvP, not yet iterated into the game at all, versus dedicated servers where in the meantime we have provided a way to get at least 8 of your friends together. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. is it a matter of prioritizing of, okay, in what order do we need to tackle things? And that's really where our team does spend a lot of time working on stuff, is making sure, are we going at things in the right order? And we're not always going to get that right. But, you know, when we have great big huge game-changing systems going in, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, we got to be really sure in what order we're hitting them. Mm-hmm. So, that being said, again, I get to ask you that really hard question. On that line item list, would you say that it's moved up at all?
Yeah, definitely. We have PvP in. We have the fires working. Right now I'm going through and kind of not rewriting, but I'm smoothing out all the AI stuff so I can get all that working again.
Yay for deer not always.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that one. Because I don't think there's been I think this is the one thing where, of course, community is, yay, okay, new features, new content, new everything. Oh, hey, yeah, the deer are fixed, awesome. The deer behave better. I would say that they're fixed. They will occasionally still go for a swim, but with the bow, But I can say that, the community's number one thing, or one of the number one things they used to say was the deer, oh my god, the deer, and that's all I'm hearing, at least in the last week. So props to you guys for finally.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm making a real push to try to smooth all that stuff out and get it all working acceptably. When you guys hear AI, what you should really think of is, I'm going to give you a code word for AI. It's when you hear AI, you should think blind Bob. And what I mean by this is, as a programmer, when you develop an AI, it's like sending a blind idiot into a room full of china to try to do some complicated task. You tell idiot blind Bob to go in and tune the radio to some station. And he walks into this room, and you can't see him when he's in the room. He just walks in, and suddenly you hear things crashing, and you think, uh-oh, that's not working right. Or you get a report from somebody that says, Bob is smashing china all over the place. And so you have to bring Bob back out and try to describe to him again how he's supposed to go in, and this time not smash the china. Right. So all of this stuff is these blind idiot Bobs out there, derping around, trying to do things that don't make sense. And now I'm going through and trying to find the most egregious of those and fix them.
Right. So we know there are still some interesting ones. The occasional screenshot of deer or wolves, or I think even sometimes skeletons walking up cliffs or trees.
Yeah.
We know it's not functioning as intended, although honestly that's probably one of the better Easter eggs we could have put in there. There's just a deer derping around walking. So they're complex systems. I mean, that at the end of the day, they're complex systems. And, to your point, we're trying to force a game engine to do something that it isn't necessarily interested in doing. And it's through the skillful manipulation, or sometimes just taking a sledgehammer or our skulls to it and just going, we're going to bash this until it works. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is exactly what game development really is a lot of the time. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this with you today, was to sort of shine a light on how complex these systems are.
I figured out why occasionally things will walk up trees, by the way.
Oh!
I know why they walk up cliffs, because they have no reason not to walk up a cliff. But they that's part of what I'm going to fix here. But with trees, the AI, Unity won't let us put colliders on all the trees in the world at the same time. because under the covers, it uses a product called PhysX to do the physics. And PhysX only allows you to have, I think it's 65,000 individual colliders. And we have
more items than that on this world.
Yeah, when you add up, we use multiple colliders for like each tree has multiple colliders. So we not by a long shot can we just set up the world like statically. So what happens is as you walk around, the game is loading just collision volumes for the trees that are nearby you and nearby the enemy, nearby the enemies. But the enemies use a different collision system than the players do, because the AIs have to work a lot more quickly, and they have to know where to go. So they kind of use this little 2D collision system to get around trees and stuff. And they can't be looking constantly because it would be too slow. So periodically, they look out around them and they say, what's out there? And then they build these shapes to match. And what happens is when you go in and, for example, cut down a tree, I have to take the collision volume that Unity has been using for that tree and remove it and replace it with a different one that knows how to get torn apart when you cut the tree down. And in that brief moment between when the tree is normal and when you start cutting it, there's a moment where the AI loses the little 2D bit around the bottom of that tree. It doesn't come back in until that AI gets around to refiguring out the area around you. So if an animal's coming directly at you, and right when they get close to the tree, you hit the tree once to chop it, it will remove the AI's collider for that tree. And when the AI hits it, the part of the code that keeps the AI planted on the ground can make it plant on the side of the tree instead. But then a little while later, when that collider comes in, it'll pop off the tree and be back on the ground again, because now it knows it's not supposed to be in that area.
And if a deer or wolf or something happens to catch it during that period,
that one little...
it actually mean that you have a wolf walking up a tree.
Yep.
Like nobody's boss, which, I'm trying to figure out, do they actually have the ability to climb? Which, I mean, it would be a different animation, and I'm not suggesting that, we turn this into something that it's not, but I'm not actually sure if wolves can climb trees or not. Bears can. And, I would be honest, I don't want a dire bear in a tree. That just sounds...
Maybe these were wolves that were raised by squirrels, right? Abandoned by their poor wolf parents.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't explain the deer because the deer don't have any way to get up there. But let's us not go there this time.
Well, deer are followers, right? You don't see a deer as a fashion leader. A deer is really just kind of imitating what he sees.
That's true. I don't think I ever linked you guys, but Devlin Pixie in chat had a fantastic experience where a boar attacked him. Basically, it came through a tree. I mean, it didn't path around the tree correctly. It just clipped. But when he hit it, it went backwards by about a foot and connected with the tree. And all of a sudden, you just saw it go up the tree trunk. Quite amusing. It was just, one of those, one too many systems, fighting with each other. And you get that in all games, no matter what. But
if you watch that video, right before the boar charges, he chops the tree, so the collision volume disappears. And the boar doesn't know the tree's there, so it just goes right through it. When he hits it, it backs up, and the way the AI know where the ground is that it looks... Wherever their legs are, it draws two little lines down and says, where do I hit the ground? And wherever those hit the ground, it orients the body to match those two spots. So if the boar is tilted a little bit and one of those lines hits the side of the tree, it'll orient the boar so that now it's on the tree. And if the boar keeps backing up, those 2 lines will make it so the boar just goes right up the tree because it doesn't know that it's not supposed to do that. So that's what happened in that case, which was awesome. That was
Yes.
like one of the best things I've ever seen.
And when you encounter stuff like that, the funny glitches, yes, they're bugs for the most part. Sometimes in that case, it's 2 systems basically working in complete opposition to each other. Show them to us. We need a good laugh when we're sitting there banging our heads against these stupid disappearing, reappearing, multiplying trees, for example.
You got to understand that as a developer, I've already spent, hours and hours and hours at 2 a.m. trying to figure out why, the collisions aren't working or the deer aren't working right or something. And I put things out kind of hoping that I've found all the problems. And then when I see an issue like that, I have a 2-sided reaction to it. One is, that's awesome. That's super funny. The other side of it is, oh my God, I'm going to be up until 4 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out why this is going on, So
many late nights in the last 2 months alone, and that doesn't count the other 9 months that we had before we went, public. So.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm not working in a salt mine or something. So it's.
You're making games which you love.
Yes.
You're building your own world, which it's one thing to come in with and be working in somebody else's world, where either as a community manager, I don't get to physically build the game world that we all come from. I've worked on some really awesome titles, but Savage is my first time of getting to build from the ground up, to actually take part in that. This thing didn't used to exist, and now it does. Go have fun with it. And that experience is pretty darn exciting, but it does occasionally provide head meet desk repeat, where you're trying to get everything to work, and why isn't it working? Oh my God, why 2 months of deer running into suiciding,
and this,
not even
this
suicide, disappearing.
This right.
It's just crazy.
This sounds sappy, but I really, part of why it bugs me so much when we have these problems is because I don't want to disappoint you guys. I mean, if I were not interested in pleasing you guys, I would be working in databases or something, right, where the hours are better, frankly. But it really makes me happy to make you guys happy, and it makes me, it fills me with dread when I put something out that causes you guys problems. So a big part of this for me is trying to make it so you guys have a good experience. I mean, that's important to me. It's just really hard to do. Yes,
very hard. And it's, we're the first to admit we don't always get it right. No game dev does. And we're fairly able to admit, yep, we screwed that up. We thought we'd fix something and it didn't. All right, back to, did something not get checked in? Did we not test properly? Like, what was the situation? Doesn't matter. We will get it fixed. And that's something that we are definitely working on with all of the stuff that you guys present to us, because we know that there are things that are annoying or frustrating, and we're doing our best to get that. On that note, I'm going to toss it over to you, let you, if you have anything else that you'd like to say, and in the back of your mind, give us start thinking about what you want people to enter into the chat for the next giveaway.
Okay. There's really, I would prefer to just answer questions if people have questions at this point. And in the back of my head, I'll think about something.
Sure. So I toss it to you guys. There's going to be a bit of a they get this. But if you guys have any questions specifically about programming or servers or anything like that we've been talking about, feel free to.
Or if you guys are interested in, being a programmer or making games or using Unity or anything like that, I'm happy to answer questions like that as well. Maybe you have a problem with your girlfriend. I can help. Is your car running roughly? Does it shake a lot at idle? I can help.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Zalchris, I think I may have just screwed up your name, but Zalchris from chat. I'm so bad with Steam names and Twitch names, and I routinely screw them up. Has a question.
Sure.
He is, why are my breakpoints not getting hit in the debugger?
Well, that's a broad question.
I know.
I can think of several reasons. One, your debugger isn't attached to the executable that's running. Two, the executable is running, but it's not running the same code that you have the debugger set to. In other words, there's a build issue. You've changed the code, but you haven't rebuilt the executable, so the debugger can't match up the two different versions. It could be that something unexpected is happening and that code isn't being called. I don't know what language you're using or what what environment
we need
you're
a
working in.
little bit more information before John can probably give you a full question. Although perhaps he would be willing to add you on Steam. I make no promises, but perhaps. Yeah. This is something that
if you have a question like that, PM me on or send me something on Steam, and I'll get back to you. I'll try to help you with it.
So another question, and we've talked a little bit about this internally, although I don't think we've made a firm decision yet. And from your side, would a Linux or Steam OS support version be possible? I phrased that very carefully.
It's funny you say that. There, as we speak, there is hair being pulled out and garments being rended and teeth being gnashed over getting a Linux version working. I have a Mac version that's been running for a long time, but it has some problems, so we haven't wanted to release it, but that's coming soon as well. Yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about that at the moment.
It's not that we're ignoring the question. It's a complicated question, as those of you who run Linux probably well understand. Mm-hmm. The Steam box is using Linux, so we want to be able to run on that if we can. So we're working hard to make that happen. Right. Another good question, and again, I know we've talked, but we haven't formalized, so don't feel that you have to confirm anything here. Possibility of a Steam client. I mean, I know at this point we're taking direct, what's the word I'm looking for? Give me 1 second here. Advantage, there we go, of the early access process of getting that systems, getting distribution through that. Is it even feasible code-wise to do something like that?
I'm sorry, I missed the initial question. Like, to run without Steam? Is that the...
Yeah.
It's definitely possible. I mean, anything is possible. I always say we can do anything, we just can't do everything. So for us, it's in terms of how much of a priority is it? Right now, Steam is a great place to be. We have a great client base. We have a lot of access to you guys. You have direct access to us. Would we like to see this on, the new consoles, for example? Yeah, of course we would.
Yeah.
But we're certainly not going to put it on a console in the condition that it's in now. Consoles are a lot different than PC. The console makers are very careful about what gets put onto it. And if you make a change, it might take a month of testing before you can put that change out for people to use. So it isn't a good platform to make rapid changes.
We don't want to be testing and having to reiterate very quickly on it versus what we need to be able to do right now.
Exactly. So. But it's definitely possible and desirable for something like that to happen in the future. We're just not focused on it right now. Actually, part of the reason we're using Unity is to make that available, to make that option available.
Yes. Cool. On that note, I think we're 10 minutes past 2 o'clock, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. No. That's nothing on you. What would you like our last giveaway to be?
Last giveaway. Let's.
Yep. What keyword shall we use?
Yeah, let's make it.
I'm ready to type.
The name of a valuable team member who doesn't get a lot of recognition outside of the group. Let's use the name Logan.
Logan gets plenty of recognition on these streams.
He
really does, because he is our tech support on these streams. So, but without a doubt, let's use Logan. So that is going to be capital L, OGAN. So there we go. Capital L. Capital L. I'm seeing lots of people without capital L's. Jeez, this is what I get for changing. Alright, we're going to change it so that it's not capital L because, well, actually no, it'll kick in There we go! Momentarily, people have kicked in. And we're going to pick 3 users. So we'll let that run for a little bit while you guys get all that in. No, I will not say it again, Mr. Shadowstorm, because the last thing I need to do is have you all of a sudden appear in my apartment in Victoria. That would just be strange, weird. So while we're wrapping this up, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Thank you so much, John, for coming on and talking about Unity and the technical side of things. Sure. Really, really appreciate that. We didn't get to your question today. I'm sorry. We will definitely be addressing that in the next couple weeks. As always, you can follow us here on Twitch so you can see when we go live every week. You can follow us on Steam. Click the little follow button on the store page, which actually gets us, or gets you the ability to hear, you get notifications when we do events like this, when our patches go out, all that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure you do that. You can find us on Twitter at Savage Lands Game. You can find us on Facebook at Savage Lands Game. We have a theme.
I'm going to put Chris on for the last word here, okay?
Awesome.
Thank you very much, you guys. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, John. And last but not least, you can find all of our official information on the Savage Lands website, which is savagelandsgame.com. Can you tell there's a theme? All right, so while Chris gets his headset sorted out, I'm going to pick 3 winners here. 3 winners. All right.
So we tried to adventure through the middle of the island. We got lost in a blizzard. Go figure. That would happen, which was really cool. We were going to go look for forest giants. We were close. We killed plague wolves. We killed furies. Everybody did a great job. Thanks to the guys in our party for helping us out. That was actually a lot of fun. It was definitely good stuff. So, Chloe, you wanted to give away stuff.
I do. I'm trying to get this last... Where's the name?
As I make the... Oh, let me just throw up my desktop here.
Yes, you do that.
I make the... Oh, go ahead, Chloe.
I do. Thank you. So the 3 winners today are Stucky, Just Nice, and General Retribution. So the winners, as I've said before, please make sure you message me here on Twitch right after the stream, and I will get those codes to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And Chris, do you have any final thoughts?
Always. I saw a lot of things that I want to fix. If that's any kind, that's why I love playing with people, because I get to go do more exploration, and I'm like, I'm going to add some stuff over here and add some stuff over here. So, but nonetheless, thank you everybody for coming. Greatly appreciate it. I'll put up patch notes tomorrow for game update 6, but for now, hope you're enjoying game update number 5. Thank you so much for helping us test and find bugs for those guys in the beta branch. Absolutely. Of course, all you guys out there, you can always join the beta branch at any time if you want to see the up-and-coming stuff that we have in the pipeline. Otherwise, thank you. I hope you all enjoyed our time with John. John is great, a man of much wisdom. So thank you guys very much, and look forward to next week.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Bye, guys.